Hello, everyone. How are you doing? And welcome to another episode of the Dr. Will Show, where we have the discussions that inform, entertain, and empower you to be the change. I am your host, Dr. Will, and my next guest is joining me from Dubai. Can you believe that this hangout that just started, a few years ago, now getting international guests on the show? How are you doing, Natalia? By the way, Think Natalia is our guest. How are you doing today, Natalia?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for inviting me, Dr. Will, and I'm really excited about this interview.
Thank you, thank you. I am excited. I've been very geeked about this interview. Uh, the thing about social media, which is always, interesting, is the people that you can meet. It has really, as Thomas Friedman wrote many years ago, how the world is flat and technology has removed all sorts of barriers. And
Definitely.
you came to my attention on LinkedIn. Someone that I follow made a comment on something,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, look at these blog posts. I said, this is awesome.
Thank
And,
you.
well, you're welcome because, when you talk about either branding or how people choose to write, communicate, express themselves, certain business people do so in a way that is, I don't want to say vanilla, but sometimes the information isn't sort of like in your face. And I'm not saying that you're in your face, but you don't hold anything back. Like when I read your stuff, I feel something. You're like it's energized. And I said, and the more I read, and then I went on YouTube and saw you speak, I said, I have to reach out to get you on the show. And
Thanks.
thank you again. I always tell people I am just a man with a hangout. So I never go, hey, I'm the man, check out my show. So I'm always excited when people say, yes, I be a guest. So for those who are watching, we will be talking about, making things happen, get your groove on, for those individuals who are saying, I want more out of life.
Mm.
Uh, so who is Think Natalia, and what is the work that speaks to your soul?
Think Natalia, in the end, is a human being who woke up one day and had enough, had suffered enough pain on her own, and have seen enough pain in the world, and then decided to change not only her way and her thinking, but also through that, the world. So I thought, okay, how do I do that? What is my gift or my talent, or how can I actually make this change? And I dig deeper and I realize that I can contribute in the best possible way through making people think and laugh. About what? About themselves or about ourselves, and the way how we create unnecessary drama and pain in our lives. So if that is a little bit too abstract, I help people create or cultivate great mindsets and a positive striking brand.
Awesome, awesome. So from the time we are aware of what's going on around us, we are told by parents and teachers and the media, success
Mm.
looks like this. And usually it's about degrees, it's about money, houses, material things.
Status,
How
yeah.
how does one go about the embarking on the inner journey of defining what type of life or career fulfillment means to them?
Hmm. Very good question. Well, the strategy that worked for me, and feel invited to try the same, is to question everything that I've always or ever learned. So I decided to approach every concept that I know about, and the concept could be family, religion, career, happiness, success, like literally anything, and say, okay, so that's what society wants me to believe or to feel, or that's what people want me to say or do. But what is it actually that I want? And so having the courage to ask that and to dig deeper and then find answers that you may not like, because you will find answers that you do not like. For example, success to me does not mean driving an Aston Martin or having a certain amount of money on your bank account. For me, success means waking up with a smile in the morning and getting a message from any person on this planet saying, Natalia, I've achieved this just because of your post. Or Natalia, I lost so and so many kilos just because of your awesomeness. This is what success means to me. And well, how do you get there? Might be the next question. That's what people always ask. I believe that reading mind-expanding books, something that challenges the way you think, your status quo, and spending time with people who also trigger the questions where you think, whoa, wait, sorry, what do you smoke for breakfast? Where does that come from? Something where you think, okay, that's so out of the box. So these two elements, I think, will definitely help you getting there. And one last factor is slowly but surely distancing yourself from mainstream media and social media and news, because I think there's a lot of negativity and wrong information being out there. And it's painful. It takes time, but it's so worth it. That's at least my experience.
So you recently wrote a piece on LinkedIn about your excuses for not starting your business sooner. Yeah. A lot of people, myself included, put off taking a leap into some certain things because we don't feel that we have the right education or experience. This leads to procrastination, and then many of us never take the next step.
True.
Where does that mindset come from, and how can we go beyond the doubt or fear or misinformation of not being ready?
Well, I do believe that ignorance is a huge factor. In the societies that we live in, the majority of us still believes that the right exists. I think that every individual is unique and special and amazing and sees the world differently based on his or her values and social conditioning and beliefs. And especially nowadays, as you mentioned earlier, with the globalized world and everything, the right career or the right the right way of thinking, the right education, the right way of living doesn't exist. I think that's an illusion. So do it your way. Have the courage to take the leap of faith and fail yourself up to success. So I do believe that this ignorance and this misinformation around the right and the one and only is the first thing. But another factor, a huge factor, is fear. I think that one of our deepest needs as an individual is being liked and being loved and being perceived as cool, or whatever that adjective is that you want to be described at. And if we fail in quotation marks, then everybody in public will see us. And then nobody will speak at us. And then nobody will want to spend time with us. That means we will end up alone, die alone. I mean, I think that's the BS story that we tell ourselves. So I think these two factors, ignorance and fear, are the biggest drivers that don't allow us to, jump into entrepreneurship or whatever your biggest thing is. So how do you overcome that? I totally believe that your comfort zone is like a muscle, so you can stretch it. How do you do that? By daily exercising. And daily exercise could be just do one new thing to stretch your comfort zone. Try a new hobby, go out and learn public speaking, take a new way on a new road when you drive home. Totally end up at the other side of town, but force yourself to do something new. And with the time, you'll get more and more familiar with it, and you will not take yourself and your failures so seriously.
So I want to throw something out there for you. You have changed careers. You have moved to another country.
Yeah.
And talking about, stepping out of your comfort zone and sort of following your own path. How did your, I guess, journey begin of you just saying, there's something different, there's something more out there, and I need to pursue it? And what was that process like for you, sort of finally accepting that this has to happen and I have to pursue this at all costs?
For me, it was literally the moment when I hit emotional and physical rock bottom. I was in hospital at least once per month with serious pain. I couldn't stand straight. I couldn't focus. And I looked into the mirror one day and I realized that I cannot smile anymore. Like that movement, I didn't know how that functioned. And my jokes, they turned into more and more sarcastic comments. And I had the feeling that I turned gray. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the movie Trolls. Also, trolls were colorful and bubbly and crazy, and this is how I see myself. And I had the impression that I turned into stone, or that I was totally gray, and a part of me died. And I think I went through so much emotional and physical pain at that time where I realized this is not what life should be. I don't believe that we are here to suffer and to crawl. I do believe that we're out there to fly. And I do believe that everybody is awesome and that everybody is awesome in his or her own way. And only because the majority of people accept living an average life and being unhappy, I don't have to accept that because it doesn't work for me. I can't. I'm turning nuts. And no, it needs to change. So I think for me, it was literally the pain that forced me to do something because there was no alternative. Well, living with that pain? What for? No, that doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Wow, this is nice. This is feeling like a Oprah moment right here. This is real nice here.
Thanks.
Thank you. So you're in Dubai, you're meeting these people, you're consulting, you are speaking,
Exactly.
and you're doing a lot of writing on LinkedIn, which for those people, when you watch this on my blog, there'll be links to be able to check out her writing. You must check it out. How did you, and going through this and recognizing, hey, I'm not being myself and I need to do something different. How did you discover your authentic voice to where, this is just who I am? And the reason I bring that up is, when people speak or they write or they present or train or whatever, sometimes people get into the habit of doing what they think is expected of them, or they try to follow in the footsteps of someone else or copy someone else. And they're not just being true to themselves and may not even know what their real voice is. So, how did you sort of discover or find out, or did you already know what your true authentic self, your voice was? How did you already know that? And if not, how did you get there and then sort of just let it roll and whatever happens, happens?
What I realized is, or I followed a lot of American influencers and coaches and speakers. So just to name a few, I totally love Marie Forleo's work. She's quirky and she's loud and she's bubbly. And I saw myself a lot in her, but I'm not her. And I love what Oprah Winfrey does, but I'm not her. And I absolutely adore Gary Vee, but I don't want to swear because especially here in the Middle East, that's perceived as very, very rude. So what I did is I sat down and identified 5 role models or leaders and said, okay, I love these guys for certain assets or skills. And as every individual, they're great in something and not so great in other things. And I said, okay, let me put these 3 to 5 things together and then a huge portion of me and then literally experiment. So I joined Toastmasters International after quitting my job, I think approximately 1.5 years later. And over there, I went to a meeting every 2 weeks, and I forced myself to hold a speech every 2 weeks in which I literally experimented with different characters, speed of voice, with my style of moving on stage, with the level of irony, and am I more academic or am I more bubbly and whatever. And I realized that that people love to listen to me the most when I'm myself, when I have the feeling that they're sitting next to me in a restaurant or on my couch or whatever. So it absolutely doesn't make sense to play a character that you aren't. Of course, in certain situations, when you are in front of 50 CFOs, you need to be a little bit more formal, especially in the beginning. But then after a few minutes, I definitely crack a joke. And sometimes it's politically incorrect because that's just my character. But hey, when you booked me as a speaker, you know that. And it's all about... I think having the courage to be yourself, it's a journey, and you have to experiment. And eventually you're going to get there. When it feels right, when you don't have the impression that you're wearing a mask or that it's kind of a burden, I think this is when you found yourself and your style.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. I love that. So for those who are watching and are happy in their jobs, whether they're a teacher, a principal, or they're not even in education. This video popped up on YouTube as a recommendation, and they're watching it anyway. Thank you if you're doing that. But they're thinking about doing something different. How do they go about deciding where to best utilize the skills and experience and education that they already have?
That's the old pattern or the old way of thinking that I was stuck for such a long time. And then I realized, well, maybe, Natalia, that's not the right angle to think from. So what I realized, a more powerful question to ask is, which real world problem are you solving? Or which real world problem do I want to solve? So it could be, do I want to make this world a better place through saving the environment or animals? Do I want to help individuals? Do I want to help companies? And then you dig deeper. By doing what? Do you want to bring fresh air into companies? Do you want to... What is that thing where you're itching your own, where you're scratching your own itch because you're passionate about it and it matters to you? And through that, add value. And once you figure that out, I think it makes sense to sit down and write a list of, okay, so what are the skills, what is the experience, and what is the education that I need for that job or that task or whatever. And then you create a separate list and say, okay, cool. So what do I have? What kind of education do I have? What kind of experiences, what skills? And you take those two lists and you compare. Is there a gap? If so, what is the education I need to invest in? Can I do online courses? Is that more than enough? Can I do a local, whatever you need to do, training or something? And where can I get this experience? A lot of people forget that once you volunteer for something and you don't get paid, it doesn't matter to the outside world, because this is how you get this experience. And I did so many speeches for free. I did so much consulting for free just to figure out is this who I am, and to get the experience and then say, oh, well, I do this since so many years. And I don't tell people that I didn't get paid for the first year or something. I don't care. It's all about finding out how you can add value. And for that, you later on charge a small fee.
Okay, since you just brought up the starting out free, and many of us who eventually go into speaking or training start doing a few gigs for free before we start to pay. So now I want to throw this out to you. This year, it really spoke to my soul to say, no more free. Now, I had, there were things that I would write for free or speak for free. And then there was other stuff that up front, they knew a check was coming. But this year I decided, after speaking at this conference, and I was there. One of the attendees went to one of the people or the organizers and said, "Hey, we want some more sort of tech sessions. And then the person said, "Oh, we got Will here."
Yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, not for free, you don't, because I like, no, I'm done for the free. And then when I started to see people that I knew and other people out there, boom, we're doing some of the same things and they were getting paid. And then I was saying to myself, these people don't know that much more than I do.
I do. Yeah, exactly.
And they're getting paid. And I said, well, it is time for me
to start charging,
to get that coin myself. So when should one decide, or look, it's been great. I got some experience. Thank you for asking me to write this article for this magazine, but I need a check. How does one mentally make that shift of saying, it's time for me to start charging?
Well, in the beginning, I always look at it this way, that it's a kind of energy exchange. So if somebody asks for something totally free, I'll say, okay, and what is my benefit out of it? I mean, do I get featured in your podcast, or will you write an article about me? What is also very great, once you've published a book, then you can say, okay, well, I do that for free, but that means that you're buying 50 copies of my book, and then every participant gets a book, right? So this is a way how you can increase your brand exposure and all that. Yeah, I think this is always, I always come from an angle where I say, I don't do stuff for free. I help you with this and that. You can also, in the beginning, maybe start with, okay, what about transportation costs? I don't have a car, so I need, my taxi fees paid, or especially when you're first only a national speaker and then you want to be an international speaker, you say, what about the flights, and what about then getting me an interview with one of these superstars or with the CFO and whatever, and you also pay for my photographer. In the end, that's also a smart way of saving money. But in the end, you need to make the active decision and allow yourself for getting paid. In most of the cases, just a wrong belief that we run around with, that was one day planted into us as a seed. One of the biggest problems actually of coaches and trainers, as I've heard. So any life coach that is great can get that out of you within a handful of sessions. And it's all about abundance and allowing money to be part of your life, because it's nothing bad. And only because you're helping people, that does not mean that you're not allowed to be paid. I mean, you should be paid for as much as a dentist or as an engineer who fixes your car gets. That's just the societies that we created. And for somebody who absolutely doesn't want to give back in any way, then I say, I'm afraid, unfortunately, I have currently too much on my plate. But let me know once you have a bigger budget, and then we speak about it. So also asking for the budget is one of the best or quickest ways to figure out what they have in mind. So when somebody says, oh, Natalia, can you speak here or coach here or whatever, I say, okay, yeah, sure. So how long is the speech, or how many sessions do you have in mind, and what's your budget? Through that, you automatically throw the ball on the other side, and then it's easier to negotiate from that angle when you're not in the victim position. But yeah, ask kindly and interested. That also makes you more professional.
Cool. So let's talk about branding. In a lot of circles in my field, there are many educators who resist the call to think of themselves as a brand. It's like, I'm an educator.
Exactly.
I serve children. I serve a noble cause and purpose. I am not Apple or Google, So please explain what a personal brand is and why it is relevant to people who work within the field of education.
I think the best explanation or quote when it comes to branding still comes from, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. So he said that a brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. which means that a personal brand is a set of perceptions or images or feelings that you created in the mind of people. This is what they think about you. That's who you are. And some of these assets can be natural because or normal because that's part of you. And some of them can be actually staged. This is when the strategic personal branding comes in, and I ask my clients, how do you want to be perceived? What are the 3 words that you want to stand for? Is it professional? Is it controversial? Is it inspiring? Is it empowering? Is it out of the box? Is it provocative? Let me know, and then we can work slowly but surely with the right outfit, with the right color, with the right wording. We can get you there. But back to your question. My PhD thesis actually focuses on the conflict between universities in Germany, or the educational system in Germany, and private economy. And my question was, how do we get academic millennials faster into the job market and without, any hassles and all that? I came to the conclusion that, especially German universities, that's my focus, they have a huge image problem. How universities are perceived, who they are and what they do, and what they actually do. I think these are 2 different worlds, and I may sound a little bit crazy by saying that, but I do believe that media and lobbyists did an excellent job in confusing the crowd. But that's, the topic's long enough for another podcast. So to cut a long story short, I do believe that by borrowing ideas from private economy, like personal branding, the educational system, especially universities, can have a bigger positive impact on individuals and on students, and through that help students being more independent and being more mature, and then teach them how to reflect and distinguish between what is it that society wants me to be, and what is it that I want, just through playing the game of being a personal brand, tweaking your wording on the way how you move or how you dress a tiny little bit, and being a little bit up to date, funkier, not so conservative, not so traditional. So just by speaking the language of students and getting that fresh wind into the educational system, by in the end just tricking private economy wants us, we can actually create a smarter next generation of individuals who have the knowledge and the willingness to make this world a better place. And then at a certain stage, maybe we do not need to call ourselves personal brands anymore. But in the beginning, we need to.
Cool. So you definitely don't shy away from particularly the visual aspects of branding. For those who will follow you on Instagram, or look at your posts on LinkedIn or on Facebook. There's a lot of things you do, from photo shoots and talking about photo shoots to you just doing all sorts of things. I saw a picture of you in a racing outfit with a helmet on.
Yeah, exactly. It was indoor skydiving.
Awesome. That's the only way I would do it, is indoors. I'm not jumping out of a plane. But when I see you and you're doing all of these things that are really powerful visually, because they really leave an imprint on people, how does one sort of take that inner workings of, this is who I am, as you said, about being authentic, being who I want to be versus what university or someone else says I'm supposed to be, to then visually sort of expressing what your inner self, authentic self is?
I think you need to have a look at your content strategy in the end, as theoretic as that sounds. So first of all, I think you need to do your homework and know, what are you going to speak about online and offline? What is your topic? What are you burning for? Is it the environment? Is it children? Is it personal branding? Is it, I don't know, a healthy mindset? Is it wellness? What is it? And then once you have that, I totally believe in, and that's what every personal branding coach tells you, you need to have one photo shoot per month at least. and sit down and create your vision board or your mood board and say, okay, this is what I want to talk about. What would be a good outfit for that? What would be a good location for that? And then at random moments, that's what, at least what I do, in random moments during the day when I'm here or there, I have this idea for a short post. So I take my phone, I have my list in my smartphone where I say, oh, I need to talk about this, I need to talk about that. And all that, these small notes or inspirational sentences with an idea of the next shoot, that will then help you showing your message or transforming your message. Because I do believe that images are more powerful than any kind of word. And if you observe yourself, what you do on your phone, most probably it's that one, right? You're just flicking continuously and we're not reading, because we live in a society which floods us with information. So if you want people to react on what you write, you need to pop out somehow out of the news feed. And how you do that is totally up to you. You can work with beautiful stock images, you can buy images, or you can shoot them on your own. And I do believe by shooting them on your own and doing pictures, even with your smartphone, plus the one with your photo shoot, it will show people how you see the world and how you want the world to see. And just from coming from a place of authenticity and vulnerability and speaking about your mistakes and what's important to you, I think this is how you find the perfect mix between being yourself and working a tiny little bit on that, how you want to be perceived, to then also, in the end, the personal brand is building relationships with other people. And then in the end, you serve people, and through that, you make a living. I think that's the connection that you need to keep in the long term. Of course, you want to help, but this is also how you make a living. And everybody who tells you that pictures are inappropriate or photo shoots, that's, oh my God, that's something just for models. Sorry, wake up. Wake up.
Excellent, excellent. Now, you just mentioned about how ideas come into you and you'll say, hey, I want to talk about this. I want to write about this. You wrote a blog post, and I've, shared this on my Twitter feed about blogging.
Mm-hmm.
I won't lie to you. I would love to blog, but video is my medium.
Okay.
After writing my dissertation, I was kind of done with writing because that took a lot out of me.
Painful. Oh, tell me about it.
It took a lot out of me.
Yeah.
But I have started, writing for magazines for a fee, and not just for the fee, but because I believed in those, the magazine and what they sort of wanted me to write about. Now, do you believe sort of everyone should have a blog, which in your blog post you do? Why should people start blogging, and how should they determine what they should be writing about, and what platform should they use? And I bring that up because, you can have your own website where you blog from. There's also Medium, and then there's LinkedIn, and each has sort of a different audience.
There were a set of questions. I'll try to answer them all. If I forgot one, then please remind me, right? I think something that a lot of people don't understand or forget is every piece of content that you get out there is sort of a blog. You're blogging without having a blog, or you can blog without having a blog, because every content or piece of material you get out there is a mini piece of literature. Every post is sort of a mini blog post. So that's the first thing. The second thing was which platform. I think when it comes to social media, you need to have the courage to decide between 3, maximum 5 platforms where you find your audience and that you love. So it's, again, the compromise between what do I love, who am I, and where's my audience. And it absolutely doesn't make sense to be on Snapchat when your audience is 60 plus, because everybody knows that Snapchat is more around people 16 plus till 24 or something. So that's a thing you need to consider. A web page or a blog, for me personally, is like the internet address or the place where you can collect all your information in a way that when people Google you or they put in your name into a search engine, they will find everything about you out there. So that is also that is something worth investing in, I do believe. It's not a must, but it's a nice have to, and it makes you a tiny little bit more professional. Also, something that you need to decide on is what kind of content do you want to create? A lot of my clients, they do believe they need to do videos and a podcast and a blog and pictures and ebooks. Oh my God, and books. No, what for? Start with something small and do that regularly. And then with the time, when you have more resources, more time, whatever, then go into the next step. I, in the beginning, worked with pictures from Pixabay, which are free stock images, because I didn't have the connections to photographers. Or when I approached photographers and said, listen, I coach you for free, I help you with LinkedIn, could we have a shoot? They looked at me and said, who are you? And I said, you will know in 5 years. Again, it gets a little bit difficult, but then again, it's all about being resourceful and starting somewhere. And of course, the first post isn't amazing and the first video isn't amazing, but then again, look at the first post of any influencer out there. It was embarrassing. So what? By trying it and by going one step out there, you grow one step every day. Yeah, and I think there was another question that I forgot. Help me. Which one was it?
How does people decide which platform to use? Because you, like I said, you have LinkedIn, there's Medium. Yeah. You can have your own with Blogger or WordPress or what have you. Because I mean, I know you have your own site, which I've been to. Yeah. It's very nicely designed and clean.
Thank you.
It's very elegant. I love it. But I read most of your stuff on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, as you know, is a more professional audience. There's just a certain type of people that are on LinkedIn and who frequent LinkedIn. Yeah, so how does one decide which platform to use when they're saying, I'm going to take this leap to actually start blogging?
I think the easiest way is to start on LinkedIn if your audience is there, because you can start writing articles without anything. You can just start today. Then if you use platforms like Blogger or WordPress I always mix them up. The one where you don't have to host on your own, is that .com? I think .com. So that could also be easy because you do not need to invest so much time into it. But I took another approach. I said, okay, I'm starting in the middle of nowhere. I want to blog, and I know that my blog will turn into a web page one day, and I do believe that a web page is important. So this is why I decided for WordPress and and a platform that would allow me to turn my blog into a web page one day. But this is not the perfect example. So if a if a web page for you in the moment sounds too overwhelming, or you don't want to do that on your own, or you don't want to pay somebody, literally start on LinkedIn, because that is also something that will make your profile stand out. And then once you have the feedback and you see people like it, start blogging maybe on other platforms as well. If you realize, okay, cool, it works, eventually you will need a web page. I think not having a web page when you are an online influencer, speaker, teacher is kind of bizarre. So it makes sense to go there. What I do is literally I blog on my webpage or blog, and I copy and paste the content into LinkedIn articles. So that's what I do.
Awesome. This has been some great information. I have loved this interview so far. I'm definitely going to be listening to this again today. Gems. You haven't, you don't see the rest of my body, but when you've been going this information and getting in deeper and educating people, like I've been doing this, like it's like yes, because I know this is content that people can listen to and take gems from and go, oh, this is how I do it. This is awesome. But before we go, what is your call to action for people who want to get out of the rut they find themselves in, and they want to do better and do better?
What is very charismatic for me or very typical for me is asking questions. So there are two questions that are maybe a little bit harsh, but they were the reality check that I needed. And hopefully your listeners will also wake up a little bit. So the first question is, what do you want people to say on the day of your memorial? What do you want to have engraved on your tombstone? And I'm very, very sure that it's not, she always wore these fancy handbags, or he stayed late in the office, or oh my God, her couch was so amazing. It's all about, in my humble opinion, designing a life of purpose that inspires others to become a better individual as well. And it absolutely doesn't matter how old you are, or what gender you have, which religion you believe in, what kind of passport you have. You can always start. And when you look a little bit into what people regret on their deathbed, the same answer that you will get everywhere is regrets. Regrets at the end of the day for not having tried something, or not living fully, or not being yourself, is so much more painful than a little bit of a failure. I didn't want to use the F word, and a mistake here and there. So yeah, what are you waiting for?
Awesome, awesome. People, this show is so good. I should be charging
Yay,
to
go
watch
for
it.
it.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. People, check out this episode. This is going to be on my blog. This is going to be on LinkedIn. I'm going to put this on YouTube, and the audio version will be on SoundCloud. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and this will be on Twitter as well. As always, invest in you, EDU. Thank you again, Think Natalia, for being a guest on my show.
You're welcome. Thank you also. It was great.
Awesome, awesome. Peace, everyone.